Hello, everyone. Welcome to day, I'm going to call it 12. Might have to reshoot this if I'm wrong. Today we have, excuse me. Today we are talking through a little bit of kind of the growth items that we're trying to put in play. Little update. I went on to a stock site and found an icon or a logo template that aligned a little closer with what we're trying to do. We have a subscription to Elements by a company. It's like $20 a month. They've got all sorts of free resources and templates. So we put together a quick little logo, basically just, and we secured the domain startuphappy.co. So we're trying to invoke the thought process of how do you feel when things go right, and how can you make your startup happy? So that's kind of the direction we're taking that. We've also signed up for, I think I touched on this briefly yesterday, and the piece that we are configuring is our landing page. So pretty simple landing page. It's got a few configurations. And so we're going to want to branch out past this pretty quickly. But what it lets us do is to be able to change out a few elements. So like section 1 has some titles and like our primary call to action. We can change fonts and alignments. Excuse me. We can put a background image in place. There's a prize image, which would be over here. And then what's the button say? What's it look like? So nothing major, but it will let us get a site up quickly. And like I said, then we can iterate on the design team and get them into place. So we're working towards a landing page that's going to give our value proposition, which we still have to tighten down a little bit more. We're going to be working on our upcoming landing page. Basically, the V2 of this is going to have a little more information. We're still going to be using the viral loops campaign pieces that we have in here so that we're able to do the opt-ins and lead gen and everything else. So we're going to keep using them. I think we're on the $50 a month plan right now. So not terribly expensive, and we'll see how that goes along with viral loops. The other thing that we are looking at is working with Upwork. Looks like we had a credit card. Someone stole my credit card information, so we had a card that got canceled. So it looks like I get that replaced as well. Of course, I get the one that's on everything. So anywho, distraction there. What we're looking at using is Upwork to be able to find someone that can help us do online research. And what we want to be doing is once we get our landing page up, we want to be reaching out to tech parks, accelerators, incubators as one kind of pool of resource partners. We want to be talking with them about what they see in the startup validation space, what people are struggling with, and then also use that as a way to let them know that we're building a tool to help solve their problems and try to get them on an early sign-up list. And then equally so, we want to be reaching out to entrepreneurs. So I'm going to be bringing somebody on board through Upwork that will be able to help us gather basically a list of people that we're going to be reaching out to. And then our copywriter is going to help us craft a drip sequence so that we can have an email that goes out and then a follow-up sequence based upon did they interact with that content. Really just trying to drive a large number of people into our funnel so that we have people we can be talking to that we don't know. And so that's part of our validation process is there a problem that anyone cares about? We know who the customer is, but is the problem something we're solving? And then what is the solution that we're providing to them? So we want to keep doing our own iteration of validation as well. And kind of one last piece, a little bit off the growth side of things, is within our Lucid chart here, if it pulls up, I had a good conversation with a friend, Matt, who runs a company here at the incubator as well. And so one of the things that I was trying to kind of struggling through is I feel like I've tapped my network, and I know I haven't, but I think there's kind of like the North Dakota nice that happens that I don't want to bother people. I'm putting excuses in front of myself to validate who is the customer, what is the problem. And I feel like even at this point, being super hypocritical of I'm building a tool to validate my market, I find myself jumping to what are the tools that I can put in place for people and not who is the customer, what is the problem. And so one of the things that we found as you go through onboarding, and I'll show this again here, of we're going to have 5 to 10 onboarding questions that's going to ask, have you ever done, or how do you handle? And then based upon what they respond with, we're going to be able to pull them through the system and either educate them on why they need to be doing these things. But basically think of it as we're going to get a profile of a user as to where they're at in terms of, strengths and weaknesses. As an entrepreneur, have they done it before? Do they know why they're doing the things, or are they just following instructions? And then we can push them and say, if the question, for instance, is, have you ever done a user interview? And they say, no, what the heck is that? We create, some video content to help explain what a user interview is and why you should be doing it. Give them a checklist of stuff. And again, we've stole this from Growth Tools from Brian Harris's company. It's one of their action guides. So as they come through onboarding, one of the things that we're seeing is that we need to curate a list of people into the platform. And so we need to be able to get friendlies in and start asking, who do you want to talk to? Why do you want to talk to them? So that you get a list, and then are you able then to ask those people for referrals? And so when I asked Matt who I should be talking to, he had said, Joe Burgum, who's a community activist here in town, James Burgum, who works for a venture fund, and then James Lehman, who works for the Department of Commerce. And so based upon those referrals, I now can go after and talk with Joe, James, and James and keep growing my audience. So it's warm introductions along the way. And that's one thing that we've seen from the mom test is that they say everyone's going to have some sort of risk. And by Matt recommending us to talk to Joe and the Jameses, now if Matt's name's attached to it and I've got a crappy idea, he has reputation risk. And so I think this is a really good way to, before we start asking interviews and questions, it's how do we curate this list? Because my assumption is that we're going to get, why do we want to talk to Joe, or why do we want to talk to James? If we can get some meta information on their profile, and then we have an interview and we come through and rank it on the back end and say, that was a really good interview. We now have data tying back to why we think we want to talk to them. And so hopefully that's going to help pull out who's good to be talking to and who's not, but not in a very direct way of, why was this a good interview? We don't know it on the front end, but can we collect information of, I want to talk to Joe because he runs a entrepreneurial boot camp called Co-Starters, and I want to find out from him what he sees. And so we need to be able to quantify that in a way to say, the most valuable people you're getting information from, either that are saying yes, it's validated, or no, it's rejected. On the front end is, can I find more Joes, and how do I help the data in the system connect, everything else. So that's kind of rambling again, kind of a long Thursday here. So, but it like I said, every day is feeling a little bit better about what we're doing and how we're putting everything together. So that's all for Thursday. I'm not sure what we got slated for tomorrow yet. Probably go home and try to get that figured out here. But thanks everyone. Have a great night, and we'll talk tomorrow.